What's up, everybody? Welcome to the debut episode of Bigger Than Sports, where we discuss the intersection of sports, race, and social justice. And joining me for the first episode is the one and only Renee Montgomery, a two-time WNBA champion, also won a championship at UConn. She is currently a member of the Atlanta Dream. Renee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Episode 1. That's what we're doing. Okay. Thank you. I like that.
Superstar.
Listen, I like that.
I love it too. You know why you opted out. You were the first professional player to opt out for social justice this year. I know why you opted out, but for our audience, what was the tipping point for you for why you needed to focus on social justice wholeheartedly?
I think my why was the tipping point, just seeing what was going on in America and then seeing what my family looks like. And when I say that, I have nephews, I have big nephews. I have 6'5", 6'4" nephews. And so that's scary because the police might see them as a threat and I just see them as, like BB, and Shirley Dilly. But it's scary to me because that they don't care, like people don't care that that's my nephews, that they are still just a regular black man in America. So that's my why. And that was what was on the forefront of my mind. I have a son and he's just turned 13. So I think my why is what ultimately had me opt out. I mean, my parents, a lot of people know the story about my parents too, HBCU grads. So there was a lot of things that kept me, that kept my mind on this climate.
Now you mentioned your son and your nephews. How much of an impact did your having a son, a 13-year-old son, impact you in setting an example for him in how to lead and make sacrifice, to fight for change?
Yeah, it was a lot, because, while I didn't have him, he's been my son for the past 2 years. And so I feel that protectiveness over him. And I just think about how innocent he is and how he doesn't even understand things. When the Ahmaud Arbery murder happened, he couldn't understand what's going on. Why would that happen? They just his mind can't wrap his mind around it. And for that reason, I feel like I need to protect him even more. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and it's so sad that you have a 13-year-old kid and his innocence is taken away almost because of the way that America and that the police system really treats them. Now, when you were deciding about this decision, about this move, what kind of words and advice did Geno Auriemma give you? He
gave the parent angle, and when I say that, he wanted to just make sure I would be okay, and so the way that he was making sure that I was going to be okay is he was asking me like, will you be okay if people don't see you as a professional athlete anymore? You're like, people, if you're not playing, then, you'll have a different status. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't really care about my status. And then he asked me, would I be okay financially? Because that's a burden, as WNBA players, we don't have that rainy day fund built up as big as maybe an NBA player would. So he was asking me, will you be okay financially? You have to think about that. And so he just asked me a lot of questions, the same questions that he said he asked Maya Moore when she opted out 2 years ago, that just, for me to think about, things for me to think about. And then, he said he's already made it known that he supports what we do. But I just having that year and him kind of putting things in my mind, it was just cool to hear, because once I knew that those were all like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Financially, I'll figure it out. And then so I opted out the next day. So after talking to Coach Auriemma, I opted out the very next day.
Yeah, such a breath of fresh air to see coaches really want to emphasize that part about their players, not just develop the athlete, but develop the person. Now, it would be remiss if I didn't bring up what's been going on in this country recently. Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back in front of his kids, Renee, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. How are you feeling? Because for me, it's very draining to see people that look like you and me be shot and killed, or in this instance, be shot and paralyzed every day.
Yeah, no, it's draining would be the word for me. It makes me more passionate. It makes me feel like, I always try to find the silver lining. I always try to find, a positive light. There's never going to be a positive light of somebody's life getting taken. And in his case, I'm so thankful he didn't get his life taken. But we've seen hashtags before where we don't understand. So for me, the feeling I have now is that I got to keep doing what I'm doing. I think that the way to combat things is to build up a community.
Is there any part of you that is fearful Like, I know everything I've seen on your social media and how you present yourself, you're a very positive and lighthearted person. You bring a lot of energy, and I really respect that. But is there any part of you that has doubts or fears about, you know, how this country will move forward, seeing everything play out the way it does?
I don't know. I think that if anything, watching what's happening right now, it should make people have some optimism. Like, honestly, because this has been going on for a while. Like, we can all understand that this is not a new thing. You know, there's been a lot of police killings, police brutality. It's been documented throughout our history as a country. So this is not the first time, but however, this is the first time that a lot of people are talking about it. So for me, like, if anything, this climate is what should make everyone optimistic, because this is not a new problem that we're facing as minorities, as Black men, Black women. But however, the response is new.
I agree. And a lot of it has to deal with the fact that a lot of white people, you know, when I see these protests happening these days, I see so many white people out there, so many more than I ever did. So it's really refreshing, really great to see that, okay, only Black people care about it, but now we have white
everyone people. It's an everybody problem. And that's why I said, like, that fuels me, because, you know, sometimes we used to have a quick news cycle. If a Black man was murdered due to police brutality, then it might get a news cycle a day or two, and then it dies off, you know? Like, people are going to take this energy to the polls. So that's new. Like, if no one knows, that's new, because America is known as having a short attention span.
Now, this is the perfect time for people to be about the change, because we're in such a unique situation with the pandemic and everything. Now, you mentioned building up your community, voting. You're part of the More Than Vote organization with LeBron James. Why is voting so important to you for people to get out, especially in this election?
Yeah, so voting can come in all forms. I encourage everyone to vote as early as possible, honestly, because it's just, there's so much going on with ways. They're like, it's getting very creative in the voter suppression lane, you know, and then the mail system, a lot of things that might be unreliable. So I think first and foremost, everyone should vote as early as possible. So if you can vote early, we suggest you do. But the thing that More Than a Vote is doing that I love is that if you do want to cast your vote, they want to make it as safe as possible to do so. So I think that's important, because as we know, our communities are taking the bigger hits when it comes to COVID and different things of that nature. So I'm so happy to be a part of a solution. You know, like, there's a lot of problems out there. We're talking about a lot of them, but a lot of the things I'm doing right now are solutions. And that's what I said. That's the fuel that we need. We need everyone to stay engaged and everyone to vote. So that fuels me as well.
The WNBA has been such an instrumental force in leading change, with Angel McCoughtry leading the initiative with putting the victims of police brutality, particularly Black women, on the backs of the jersey. You have the response from the whole WNBA when Senator Kelly Lawford, Georgia senator, stood against Black Lives Matter, put out a very, inflammatory statement, and they responded with, vote for Raphael Warnock, who is an opponent of hers in this upcoming special election. What is it about women being so, powerful and the leaders of change?
You know, I think if you check the history books, women have always done this exact role. Women have led a lot of charges. You know, the history books might not give as many women credit as they should have, but a lot of times they are at the forefront. And I don't think this is any different. I think there's the protection that women have, that they want to protect their brothers or sisters. And also, women understand what it feels like to be discriminated against, you know, especially in the WNBA. And not saying that the sports league discriminated against us, but we just understand what it's like to not be considered as athletic or as skilled because we're women. So I think when you understand a struggle, it helps you understand someone else's struggle better.
Yeah, that empathy factor, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I want our audience to understand, what does it mean to you to be Black? Because I think a lot of times there's a disconnect or a misunderstanding between Black people and white people about what Black people go through.
So I would say it's hard to explain, because I'm a professional athlete, right? So there's the one hand where I know I'm the professional athlete, but there's the other hand that when I'm not on the court, I'm just a Black woman, you know? So that dynamic, I think, is really hard for fans and media to get. You know, it's why someone literally told LeBron James to shut up and dribble. People think that you're this sports figure, and I'm going to speak for just me personally. People see me as this WNBA player and that I should be almost immune to what's going on because you don't have to deal with that. You're a WNBA player. And it's like, no. It doesn't work like that. I'm Black. Okay, so I'm Black when I leave the court. I'm Black when I'm walking on the court. I'm Black when I'm on the court. So we understand that we're the same human at all times, but people just see us in different lights.
Right. People think you have a helmet from racism, when that is anything but the truth. Because like you said, once you take off that jersey, a cop sees you walking down the street, they just see you as another Black person. It's what Jimmy Butler talked about, why he didn't want his name, you know, why he didn't want anything on the back of his jersey, because he's like, I'm just a Black man, you know, and people had a hard time understanding that. But it's hard to separate the different parts of you, just so people can get it. Like, yes, I'm a WNBA player, but I'm still a mom, I'm still an aunt, I'm still a Black woman in America. All of those things, not just the basketball player, but all of those things make me who I am. So if one of those things feels a little off, like my mom's spidey senses are tingling, like I got to address that because that's still me. So it might affect another part, like my job, the WNBA, but all of those things make me who I am. Right, and those are beautiful things that should be uplifted and not demonized or discriminated against. I saw you mention how, we have Black History Month in February, and that's all good and well. But, you know, at the same time, it's kind of a slap in the face because why is Black history relegated to 1 month when that is American history? And as you alluded to, there are so many inventions, so many creations that Black people have done. We built this country off of our backs. So just speak on that fact, how it shouldn't be glossed over or just touched on for just 1 month and then boom, it's gone. Yeah, so like in me growing up in West Virginia, February was like the worst month ever. You know, I'm the only Black girl in the school. So February wasn't the best thing for me because what we basically learned in February was all things slavery. So even when we go to talk about the inventions and the different things like that, while we did learn about, you know, some of the more famous inventors that were Black, there more than half of the month was about slavery. So that doesn't give me the best depiction either of what history looked like. So I think that while February we should keep it, we deserve a month, you know, while we should keep it, I still think that, you know, January through December should have that same type of infusion of Black culture, Black history. Yes, it should be year long. Yeah. Well said. One of the things that I'm going to have everybody do who's on this show talk about is an action plan. What can people do tangibly right now to enact change to help fight against racism, police brutality, and white supremacy, Renee? Okay, so this is gonna be where I plug then, because while I'm not necessarily focusing on police brutality, I'm focusing on building up a community. And I think that once we address more issues involving police brutality, that what I'm focusing on right now is gonna be very important. You know, when we do go back to normal, what does that look like? You know, what do our communities look like? We have a hole we gotta pick ourselves out of as a country. So how are we gonna do that? Well, for me, I wanna get a jump start on it with HBCUs and start to get them moving forward. And again, I'm starting with Morris Brown, so momentsequalmomentum.com. If you're looking for something to do, a way to help, spread the word, momentsequalmomentum.com. Donate if you can. If you know a company that's donating, you got a connection to a Netflix, a Coca-Cola, reach out to us. Like, I'm trying to do something really big. It's kind of scary, but I need help, and it's uncomfortable to say I need help, but I want people to try to help me, please. Momentsequalmomentum.com. You heard it here first, everybody. And Renee, that's the wonderful thing, I guess, about the journey of fighting for something that you're so passionate about. It is scary. Yeah. It is uncomfortable, but you know why you're doing it. And that's what's going to help you keep pushing along, even though it's daunting. So I just want to say thank you so much for being our very first guest here on Let's go, number one, episode number one. Let's go. Number one, we in here. Love it. We in here. Really appreciate the time. Keep doing everything that you're doing. You are a tremendous inspiration, and stay well and be safe. All right. Thank you, Chris.